She had always felt invisible because of her plain looks. Her husband of many years had fallen for a younger girl at the office. After walking away from that broken marriage, Anne decided to get away for a while. She had just loaded her bags into the car when her ex-husband pulled up. There had been an emergency at work, and he asked her to take their daughter Izzy to the concert in his place. Anne hadn't wanted to change her plans, but her daughter begged, so she gave in. When they got to the concert venue, Izzy dashed off with her friends, disappearing into the crowd, and Anne was left standing alone. The noise and energy around her didn't match how she felt, so she found a lounge and sat down to wait. A woman next to her suddenly asked, "Are you here for August Moon too?" August Moon was the hottest music group around, and they were exactly why her daughter had come. Anne had no interest in fandom, so she made an excuse about needing the restroom and stepped outside for some air. A woman stepped gracefully out of a trailer across the way, and Anne mistook it for a portable restroom. She knocked on the door, but the person who opened it was a strikingly handsome young man. The moment their eyes met, it felt like his heart skipped a beat. Anne assumed he was just another person using the bathroom. When she came back out, the young man was still waiting right there. She thought he was some kind of peeper, but he told her it was his trailer and that he was Belle, the band's lead singer. Realizing she had wandered onto private property, Anne was mortified and tried to hurry away. Belle called after her, figuring she was a fan, and offered to have a drink with her. Not wanting to be rude, Anne stayed and explained that she wasn't a fan. She was just there with her daughter. When he found out she was single, he couldn't hide his smile. A staff member came in to announce that the fan meet and greet was about to start. Before Anne could leave, Belle started changing clothes right in front of her. Her face turned red, and she turned away. But she still stole a few glances at his young face and tall frame. When the staff came back in to go over show details, Anne slipped out without a sound. The fan meet and greet went on as planned. When August Moon appeared, the crowd erupted in cheers. Anne had never realized how huge this young band really was. Belle spotted her in the crowd right away. Their eyes locked again, and Anne felt a strange flutter in her chest. As dusk settled in, the concert kicked off right on time. Belle and his bandmates sang their hearts out on stage, bringing the whole place to life. Even Anne, who had no interest in pop music, started moving to the beat. As the concert was winding down, Belle had a special gift for her. He said he had met someone that day who gave him inspiration, and the song Closer was sung just for her. The moment those notes hit, all the sadness from her divorce seemed to melt away. After the concert, Anne went back to her gallery, determined to leave the past behind and start fresh. She had plenty of suitors, but she turned every single one of them down. Then one day, Belle appeared in front of her, completely out of the blue. He said he had come to buy some artwork. Anne believed him and gave him a tour of the entire gallery, telling him the story behind every piece. Belle said casually, "Awesome, I'll take all of them." Anne was stunned. All those works she had poured her heart and soul into, and to him they were just stuff to be packed up in bulk. She marched up to him, upset. Belle sincerely told her he genuinely loved the pieces, and that even buying all of them wasn't enough. He had a huge apartment that needed a lot of art to fill it. Seeing the honesty in his eyes, Anne chose to trust him and agreed to take him to her friend's art warehouse to pick out more. Outside, fans and media were swarming, so Belle ducked down in the car to stay out of sight. They made it to the warehouse, which was packed with amazing pieces. Anne's favorite was a painting called Unchain Me. Belle quietly made a mental note of it. In a quiet corner, they talked about art and life and shared their dreams and pasts. As their conversation grew deeper, Belle finally admitted his real reason for coming. "I came here to get to know you better." When they left the warehouse, Anne found herself seeing this young man in a new light. They exchanged a smile. She hadn't imagined that connection during the concert. As they headed to a restaurant, a sharp-eyed fan recognized Belle inside the car. To escape the commotion, Anne offered to have him over to her place instead. Stepping into Anne's home, Belle was drawn to everything around him. He had grown up with divorced parents, his mother remarried, and his father had never been around before he turned 16. Now trying to rebuild that family warmth felt nearly impossible. Anne felt for him, and little by little, she opened up too. Belle asked about her marriage, and she finally told him the whole story. She and her ex-husband had met at a party and gotten married quickly. After the wedding, his career had taken off, and she had opened her own gallery. Just when life was getting good, he had started an affair with his young secretary. All their mutual friends had known about it. Everyone except Anne, for an entire year. Belle listened with tears in his eyes. They looked at each other, and it felt like two lonely souls had found their redemption. Just as the mood was heating up, the phone rang, breaking the spell. While Anne stepped away, Belle wandered over to the piano. The moment his fingers touched the keys, soft music filled the room. Anne was drawn back by the sound, but Belle didn't feel like playing anymore. Looking at her face, he gently placed his hand over hers. Anne felt her guarded heart stir again, and she kissed him, but then, a second later, she pulled back in a panic. Her failed marriage and the huge age gap made her retreat. She told him they should stop right there. As he was leaving, Belle quietly left his watch on her table and walked out like nothing had happened. Her daughter's figure suddenly appeared, and Anne scrambled to compose herself. The sharp-eyed girl noticed something was off but didn't pry. Turning around, Anne spotted the watch Belle had left behind. Soon enough, the summer camp her daughter had been waiting for finally arrived. After dropping her off, Anne was alone in the big, empty house. That night, she received a text message. She looked closer and saw it was from Belle. Every line was filled with his longing for her and his desperate wish to see her. She put down her phone but couldn't help scrolling through old videos of him, a smile creeping across her face. Picking up the watch again, she knew deep down she had never let him go. The next morning, Anne booked a flight to the address Belle had sent and decided to return the watch. When she stepped into his hotel, a wave of nervousness hit her. She knocked softly on his door. When Belle saw it was her, he was overjoyed. They fell completely in love. The next morning, Anne woke up to the sound of Belle playing piano. He told her he was about to leave for a European tour. Anne tried to keep her cool, but Belle went on, "I want you to come with me." She wasn't sure where their future was headed, and she dreaded the judgment of others. Belle said, "I don't care what they say." So Anne went on the European tour with him as his art consultant. Aside from his shows, they spent almost all their time together in secret. From stadium concerts to art fairs, from the streets of Paris to the corners of Miami. Their love story left traces all across Europe. Her daughter called and got curious when she heard a man's voice, but Anne brushed it off as a male client. Unlike Anne, who wanted to keep things low-key, Belle wanted to shout their love from the rooftops, but he respected her wish to stay private. During a quiet dinner date, the paparazzi caught their intimate moment on camera. With some rare time off, they went to a beach house to relax. Anne had planned to put on a swimsuit, but when she saw how fit and beautiful the younger women looked, she felt completely inadequate. Staring at her own aging body in the mirror, she ended up wearing something much more conservative. Even so, she couldn't escape people's stares. His friends made snide remarks about her getting older. Anne didn't take it too personally. Belle's friend Leo asked her, "Why do you even like Belle?" She said, "Because he wrote Closer for me." Leo replied, "That's just a song we sing whenever we meet a girl we like. It's our go-to move." She had thought that song was a special romantic gesture just for her. But it turned out to be their little playbook trick. Anne put on a brave smile, but inside she was crushed. She made an excuse and went back to her room. Belle came to apologize, but Anne's heart had already grown cold. She knew that real love never needed any games. Watching her walk away, Belle felt like his heart was being ripped out. He didn't want to lose her, but no matter how hard he tried, Anne refused to stay. On the way home, Anne was consumed with pain. She dragged herself through the door late that night and found a package waiting on the floor. She opened it. It was the painting from her friend's warehouse, the one she had said she loved. Only Belle knew how much that piece meant to her. One morning, her ex-husband showed up unannounced with his new wife. He had bought a car as a birthday gift for their daughter. As he was leaving, he made a snide comment about Anne dating a younger man, his words dripping with mockery. He walked off, but his new wife turned to Anne and said, "I didn't know he was cheating on me. I'm leaving him. It's over between us." Anne went back to her quiet life. But whenever she was alone, she still thought about Belle. One day she got a message from him with just 4 words, "Stay off the internet." Curious, she sat down at her computer and saw that their intimate photos had been leaked everywhere. Overnight, Anne became the target of global hate from fans and the media. On her way to pick up her daughter, a stranger came up to her, a woman who said her own marriage had fallen apart and that she didn't have Anne's courage. Right after she left, another passerby asked for a photo. Only then did Anne truly understand the pressure Belle had been under all along. When her daughter asked her about it again, Anne didn't hold back and told her everything. When her daughter learned that she and Belle had truly loved each other and that the breakup had left Anne heartbroken, she encouraged her mother to go after real love again. With her daughter's support, Anne found the courage to go find Belle once more. They made up and were together again. They stopped caring about what others thought. They ran openly in the mornings and walked hand in hand through the streets. And they both decided to delete all their social media. But happiness never seemed to last. Her ex-husband showed up again. Maybe it was jealousy, or maybe seeing Anne happy just ate at him. He scolded her for chasing after a younger man, saying she didn't care what anyone thought. Anne truly didn't care, but the endless swarm of reporters and paparazzi outside her door was wrecking her daily life. Her gallery was surrounded day and night, and business plummeted. The online hate wasn't just aimed at her, it also hurt her innocent daughter, who was bullied and gossiped about at school. Even though her daughter still supported her mom's happiness, the cruelty directed at her child filled Anne with guilt. Anne sent her daughter to stay with her ex-husband to get away from it all. Watching her daughter walk farther and farther away, she felt a wave of guilt like never before. When she got home and checked the computer again, the cyberbullying hadn't let up. It had only gotten worse. To protect her daughter from more harm, and for Belle's career, Anne made the painful decision to break up with him. Belle said he would leave the band and give up everything for her. Anne didn't want him to make a choice he'd regret forever, and she couldn't bear to see her daughter caught in the crossfire. After a long silence, Belle finally respected her decision. Back at home, her phone pinged with a text. She opened the door, and there he was. They held each other again, tears streaming down both their faces. Belle asked her to wait 5 more years. By then, her daughter would have graduated. He would be stepping back from the spotlight, and no one would care anymore. So they could pick up where they left off. Anne said no, and told him to focus on his career and find the happiness he deserved. They chose to part ways, not because they loved each other any less, but because they loved each other that much. As they said goodbye, Belle slipped the watch back into her hand one more time. 5 years went by in the blink of an eye. Anne stayed single and devoted herself to her gallery, and she never heard from Belle again. Her daughter finished school and started her own career. Everything had finally calmed down, but late at night, she still listened to Belle's music and caught up on his appearances. And more often than not, the tears just wouldn't stop. One day at work, Anne heard a voice she knew all too well. She stepped outside, and there was Belle. They smiled at each other, and this time, neither of them had that look of fear or uncertainty anymore. It was replaced by calm, understanding, and a thread of love that had never fully broken. Having been through the ugliness and ruin of marriage, and watching her own face age, Anne's love for Belle had always been shadowed by fear and doubt. But time had softened the initial fire and tempered it into understanding and acceptance. After 5 years apart, their love had never disappeared. It had just grown into something stronger and more mature. Whether they ended up together again no longer mattered. What mattered was that they had both become better versions of themselves because of each other. Maybe we've all felt unwanted or doubted ourselves at some point. But the strongest kind of love starts with making peace with who we are. Only when we fully embrace both our light and our shadows can we show up as our truest selves and meet every other form of love that life has to offer.